Have you ever really looked at the symbol of the water bearer and wondered what's going on there? Well, in this explainer, we're going to break down this ancient, enigmatic figure piece by piece. We're going to decode what makes this personality type so unique and so fascinating.
So here's our roadmap. We'll start with the big picture, the symbol itself. Then we're going to zoom in on the three key parts: the pot, the water, and the person holding it all. And finally, we'll put it all back together to really get our heads around the central paradox of the water bearer.
All right, first things first. Before we can deconstruct it, we need to establish what we're actually looking at when we talk about Kumbh Rashi and its powerful symbol.
At its heart, Kumbh Rashi is about so much more than just a person giving water to the thirsty. You have to see it as this rich metaphor, a metaphor for constantly sharing knowledge and wisdom with all of humanity. And, as you're about to see, every single piece of that image has a really deep meaning.
Okay, let's start with the first piece of the puzzle, the pot itself, or kumbha. What's it holding, and what does that tell us about the personality? So the pot isn't just a simple bucket. It's better to think of it as the mind itself, a container built to hold and process huge amounts of information, complex ideas, and wisdom on a really grand scale. Now this is where it gets really interesting. The pot represents two things at once. Yeah, it holds all this collective wisdom, making deep thought possible. But the pot itself is also a boundary, right? It separates what's inside from what's outside, and that fosters this fierce intellectual independence and helps forge a strong personal identity, one that just refuses to go with the flow.
So we've got the container, but now let's talk about what's inside it, the water, and more importantly, the fact that it's always moving.
I love how the source material puts it, a calm flood of ideas. See, this isn't some chaotic, messy overflow. It's a constant, controlled, and really generous outpouring of wisdom, and it's all meant for the benefit of everyone.
And this flow has a real purpose. It's all about serving humanity, about pushing progress forward. But think about how water moves. It carves its own path. So that flow also symbolizes a deep desire for freedom, for new ideas, for unconventional thinking, which, often leads to a bit of a rebellious spirit that pushes back against unfair or outdated rules. This brings up a pretty fascinating question, doesn't it? How does a calm, generous flow of ideas turn into a rebellious spirit? On the surface, those two things sound like complete opposites. Well, here's the key. Flowing water will always find its own path. It just naturally hates being restricted. And that's the perfect symbol for a mind that instinctively questions the way things have always been done. It challenges the status quo, because it's always searching for a new and a better way forward.
We've got the pot, we've got the water, but who's the one doing the pouring? It's time to talk about the person holding that pot, the bearer of all this wisdom.
Pay attention here, because this separation is absolutely crucial. The water, the ideas, the knowledge, doesn't actually touch the bearer. And that physical distance symbolizes emotional distance. It creates objectivity, emotional control, and a clear preference for logic over raw feeling.
And right here, you can see that central tension in action. On one side, you have this powerful, genuine humanitarian instinct, a deep care for society. But on the other, you have this emotional detachment. So they show they care intellectually, through solutions, through ideas, not through big emotional displays. You can see this play out in their social lives too. Because their focus is on the whole community, they often have these huge social circles. But that same detachment means they usually have only a few truly intimate close bonds. For them, it's all about that intellectual connection, not so much emotional drama. So when you put all these pieces together, the structured pot, the flowing water, and the detached bearer, what you get is this truly fascinating and, paradoxical personality. And we're not just talking about a couple of quirks here. The source material actually outlines 15 distinct traits that all grow out of this single powerful symbol. And a lot of them seem to completely contradict each other. I mean, just look at this. They can be super social, even popular in big groups, but at the same time feel emotionally distant. They can come across as calm and stable, but deep down, they have this burning drive to be a rebellious reformer. And that quiet, reserved exterior, it's usually hiding an incredibly deep and complex inner world. But in the end, it all points to one thing. As the source says, their mind is futuristic and progressive. Their focus isn't really on day-to-day personal stuff. It's on the much bigger goal, pouring out innovative ideas for the future of us all. And that leaves us with one final, kind of haunting question to think about. The water bearer pours out this constant stream of wisdom for all of humanity, but in giving so much away, what water do they ever leave for themselves?